Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix and this is Overwatch Friday. This was supposed to be a Q&A video, but I only got one set of questions and I'm realizing that's partly due to the fact that I didn't necessarily make it that clear that it was a Q&A this week. It was at the end of the last week's video, so on and so forth. So you know what, I'm going to delay that a week. I'm going to do it next week. And I'm going to tell you guys up front, put your questions in the comment section below. I'm also going to give you a little bit of incentive to do it. I do have a bunch of games that are in the backlog in terms of, games that I bought on sale that I didn't necessarily play, or I bought a bunch of games when they were on sale like a couple years ago that I'm going to give away at this point. So, I'm going to give away a copy of BioShock Infinite. And it's a pretty good game, and they also have the BioShock Remastered coming up in a couple of years. If you have a copy of it, guess what? You will get the remastered version. So it seems like a good choice in terms of a game to give away. So how do you get entered in the giveaway? Well, you leave a question in the comment section below for me to answer, in addition to being subscribed to the channel. Yes, you have to be subscribed publicly because I do have to make some incentive in terms of actually subscribing to the channel now, don't I? So, again, that's simple. Let's get into the topic this week. Reviews. In particular, the word review and what it means in terms of the gaming world. Now, what would I classify my channel on YouTube as? A gaming review channel. Now, why don't I use the word review in every video that I do? I have first impressions. I've got 5-minute reviews. First impressions have turned into critical eyes, by the way, if you're wondering about that branding. And then I have my full reviews. And you're probably wondering, well, why don't you just use reviews but put it like a pseudo review or, mini review or something like that? There's a reason for that. And even though it would be more beneficial to the channel to always use the word review in these cases, I have expectations. I have expectations of what the word review means in terms of an overall encompassing opinion about the game. Now you're probably wondering what brought this on. Well, recently I did a game design video about Stranger of Sword City. Stranger of Sword City has a lot of problems, and I'm not completed it yet despite getting the review copy 2 months ago. I have 95 hours in Stranger of Sword City right now, and a lot of people would argue that why don't you just do the review? You have to have your full impressions of the game and understand whether or not it is for a certain person. To a certain extent, I do. But the thing is that the word review, to me, is all-encompassing. I take a lot of influence from Total Biscuit on the subject. His WTF series, a lot of people would call a review series. And while it is very critical and it has a lot of detail about the games in question, a lot more than other reviews, aka full reviews, on sites like GameSpot, for example. The thing is that Total Biscuit makes it clear. It's a first impressions video. He hasn't played the entire game. And there's a reason why he calls it WTF is and not review. So it sets the expectations of everyone involved. Part of the reason is that the review word indicates completeness. The fact of the matter is that when you see a review online, in particular using that keyword review, a lot of people first jump to, okay, they've completed the game, or they've seen everything the game has to offer. How can you review something if you don't see everything it has? Now, is there value to things that don't necessarily review everything? Of course. Total Biscuit's WTF series is a great example of it. It has a lot more detail than regular reviews, as I said before. But with that said, he makes it clear. He hasn't seen everything. If the game gets that much better in the second half, for example, then he's not going to be able to tell you that because of the first 10 hours or 20 hours that he played, he wasn't able to see what this game has to offer. One of the best examples that I always hear of is Final Fantasy XIII, and it gets good around the 15 to 20 hour mark. If I were to do first impressions of that game, yeah, I'd probably hate it. Now, did I still hate it after the first 40 or 50 hours? Yeah, I did. But there are games that, yeah, it could get better or a lot worse. Stranger of Sword City's case, yeah, a lot worse because of what they did in terms of game design. How they stretched things out, how grinding became such a big problem with that game. Is there cases where I'm still going to recommend it? Of course there is, because there are certain gamers out there that are okay with grinding, that are okay with the challenge that the game presents. But the thing is that with a review like Stranger of Sword City, the completion portion is important at times. In particular with Japanese RPGs that have a huge story to tell. A lot of them base their concepts and their quests on the idea of the journey. A small individual, one person out of 100,000, a million, 2 million, going on this special journey to become a hero, to become someone who can save the world. You want to see the end of that journey. Stopping in the middle of it, yeah, it makes a huge difference in terms of what you expect from the game. If the overall plot has this wonderful climax, it can save a game. The ending of a game is huge at times, especially with Japanese RPGs. See, to me, it's all about giving the game as many chances as you can. Will there be cases where, yes, you cannot go any further even though you haven't finished? Let's say your save state corrupts all of a sudden. Yeah, I can understand somebody doing a review based off of what they've experienced, and yes, there is a timeliness factor to things. I don't want to have to play through 40 hours if something of my save state got corrupted, and understanding what you had about the game and your thoughts about the game still will be useful to the audience. With that said, you disclose that. You say, hey, look, I wasn't able to complete the game, this is what happened, so on and so forth. For example, I told you guys straight up, Rodea the Sky Soldier is probably the one video on this channel that, yes, I wasn't able to complete, and I used the word review. But at the start of the review, I told you guys, I said, look, I didn't complete this game. I explained why later in the video, and I told you I would explain it, but I felt like, yes, I had experienced what the game had to offer, but I just couldn't go any further. I did every effort that I could in terms of giving you guys the information you needed, but at a certain point, the game stopped me from progressing. Were there people that were able to complete Rodea the Sky Soldier? Yes. Were there people that gave you a better opinion on Rodea the Sky Soldier and a more complete one? Yes. Do I still think my coverage was useful? Yes. And I really sounded like Daniel Bryan there for a second. Yeah, I've been watching a little bit more wrestling lately. The thing with reviews is that, yes, I could put the word on everything. I could say this is a pseudo review. This is a 5-minute review. This is just a review. But the thing is that review implies something. You'll notice with the 5-minute series, I use the word 5-minute markup and 5-minute review, even though it's the same series. And there's a reason for that. 5-minute review, I completed it. 5-minute markup, I did not. Things like, Enter the Gungeon, for example. Yeah, that makes sense as a 5-minute markup because I didn't finish the game. But, Panzer Mandels? Yeah, I completed the game. I completed a couple of arcs. Yeah, it makes sense for me to use the word review. And I don't think I'm misleading the audience while doing it. That's the big key. Now, I want to be clear on something. Do I think every person who uses the word review that hasn't finished the game is trying to mislead their audience? No, of course not. There are people who have different perceptions of the word review, have different expectations, whether it be how they were raised, what they expect out of the creators that they watch. Yes, there can be those cases. And especially when you have an audience that is already sort of grounded in terms of your content, yes, it can make sense where the person uses the word review and the expectation of the viewers know exactly what they are expecting in terms of the coverage, that they aren't going to get everything. With that said, my morals and my looking at everything in terms of the review system, I can't do that. I think that it makes too much sense to use the word review in those cases where I've beaten the game and that's it, or have done everything in my power to. And with Stranger of Sword City, for example, yes, you could say I've done everything in my power to complete that game. But I don't think I have, because it's not like the game is technically stopping me. It's just taking a long-ass time to do it. And I do think the game still has things to offer me, especially with the ending of the game, that could save it in certain cases. Do I think it's going to save it? Hell no. I think there's just too many issues with the game for me to recommend on a more global basis. Naming conventions on channels are important to understand what you should expect from them. For example, on this channel, you probably noticed something very different about the channel this week. I used the title Critical Eye. And you're probably wondering where that came from. Well, when I thought about the First Impressions series, First Impressions means a lot of different things for different people. For example, First Impressions could mean the first time a person literally plays the game. And so, that's a lot different from the WTF Is series. Total Biscuits says it's a First Impression series. But it's not like the other First Impressions. It's a lot more critical. So how do I get that across in terms of you guys understanding that this video is a First Impressions, but it's more critical than most? I came up with the term Critical Eye. The critical portion in terms of the name indicates that I'm focusing on detail, that I'm going to dive into analysis and say, hey, guess what? You can expect that this game design, this gameplay, everything about this game is going to be analyzed, because that's what the word critical means. But the I portion indicates focus, that I'm going to focus on the critical nature of this video. I'm not going to focus on entertaining you guys per se. There is going to be entertainment, at least attempts at entertainment at times, but I'm going to focus on giving you guys information critical to your analysis of whether or not you should get the game or not based on my video. Hence the term critical eye. I think it does a good job, even though it's not direct in terms of the naming, saying, okay, it's a semi-review or it's a first impressions. Even those kind of names can give different impressions. People still think that WTF is a review video, despite the fact that, you know, Total Biscuit keeps on saying, no, I'm not a reviewer, I'm a first impressions guy. Now, will the review of Stranger of Sword City be anytime soon? I hope so. I really do. I think I'm at the end of the game, but every time that I come to, you know, think that I'm at the end of this, you know, long journey of 95 hours in Stranger of Sword City, it brings up another gotcha. So I don't want to say anything in terms of whether or not it's going to be out next week. I keep on saying that. I've given you guys enough of a tease on that. It'll be out when it's out. To end the video today, I'm going to do something that I normally don't do on the channel and talk about me and my personal issues, because I really need to talk about this and get this out there. It is related to YouTube, but it's not necessarily what I want to talk about on a weekly basis. This is not a vlog channel. This is not about me. This channel is about the games. With that said, I would be lying to say that, you know, emotions don't play a part in terms of what I do. I want to get emotional about a game. When I go and take a look at the game critically, I want to disconnect that emotion so that I can be fair and objective about it. But I want to be emotional. I want to love games for what they are, because guess what? Games are fun. Games are what I'm passionate about. So what am I talking about? Well, recently an acquaintance of mine brought forward some information that I always suspected. I always believed that it was the case, but I never got confirmation. I didn't know whether or not it was my own insecurities boiling to the forefront, or whether or not I was just being paranoid. But, lo and behold, the person said something specific that pretty much made it clear. And that was that I was wasting my time with what I was doing with YouTube. That the degree I got from the University of Illinois, I could be doing a lot more with my life than what I'm doing now. So what is my official response to that person? This is not going to be PG, so prepare yourself. Fuck you. I know that you don't think I'm doing everything that you want me to do with my life. You know, I have a 4-year degree at university that other people don't have the opportunity to get. And I understand that. And I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to do it. I'm thankful that I had 6 years in the software engineering business because of the fact that I understand, you know, what goes into software and what goes into corporations in particular. With that said, in the last 6 months of that place that I was working at, and even the last 2 years that I was working at the place in question, I was miserable. The fact is that you always heard stories about, you know, the talent rising to the top, that, you know, if you implement things right and you know, play the game right and, you know, you do things the way that you're supposed to, that you will make it in the world regardless of corruption, regardless of all that bullshit. Which is a lie. I'm going to put it out there right there for you guys. It is a lie. You've seen that on YouTube. A lot of you have commented, why aren't you 100,000 subscribers or 500,000 subscribers, despite the quality of the videos? Well, I don't cut corners. I don't play the game in terms of, you know, trying to eke the system for a little bit more subscriber base. I don't do sub for sub. I don't do things like, you know, spam Reddit with you know, posts. So I don't necessarily play the game the right way if I want to be big. I play the game the right way morally. So with all that experience under my belt, when I started to do the YouTube thing, I finally found something that I felt was me. That was me at my core. Being able to give commentary to people, give information to developers to say, this is where your design went wrong. And those developers thanking me for it, actually implementing some of the changes that I requested. For people to come to me and said, yeah, I bought this game and I love it. Or I avoided this game because of what you reviewed. And that's what I love to do. I want to get that discussion going. I want to give games the light of day that really deserve it. And I want to avoid games that, you know, don't deserve it. You know, games like, you know, Street Fighter V on launch. For this person to say what they did, you know, I understand that you don't, you know, you expect more, but it made me miserable. And this is actually making me happy. Now, am I frustrated with, you know, my place on YouTube right now? Of course. I want it to be more successful. Will I have to give it up at some point? Probably. But I've enjoyed the last 2 years that I've been working at this. I think my quality of work has improved immensely. I have loved the amount of detail that I've been able to get into some of these videos and some of the discussions that have come out of it. When I see somebody, really, push my channel because of the fact that they're a fan, I really appreciate it, and I really understand that, I've touched people on some certain level. For you not to understand what I'm doing and to question that without really knowing the details behind it, I thought better of you. I really did. I really thought that you knew better than that. And maybe it's, just the way that you are, but I can't sit here and say I'm not disappointed. Is this going to stop me from what I'm doing? Hell no. I enjoy this, and if you don't agree with that, then that's okay. It's not your life, it's mine. And if you want to take action on it, go right ahead. But this is going to be something I do until I can't do it anymore. And I love giving that feedback. I love talking to people. And I've grown as a person. I've been able to speak to people while looking in the eye more than I usually were. I was a very shy person, and I feel like I'm being a little bit more of an extrovert. Yeah, I know I'm not being 100% in terms of the quality of this video, but this is a vlog type of thing. I've been able to speak to people easier. Do I still have insecurities? Hell yeah, but this has helped me grow as a person. And for you not to see that, even though you're supposed to know me, makes me question you. And I get it, I do, but before you say things like that, make sure that you know what you're talking about. Make sure that you actually have some basis for your reasoning, because if you don't, then all you're doing is just telling people a bunch of hateful shit. And guess what? You're going to make yourself look stupid while doing it. All right, that's it for me this week, you guys. I apologize for that last portion. I just had to get that off my chest. I'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe if you want more content like this. In the description below, you'll find the Steam review accompanying this vid, along with social media that you can follow me on, Twitter, Google+, and Facebook groups. And if you want to support the channel, click that Patreon on the left of the screen. And remember, keep on gaming.